Guys, welcome back to MDTV. Welcome to a new segment of MDTV. Here I've got Wesley. Hey mate, how you doing?
Hey, good. Thanks for having me here.
No, thanks for coming on, man. In this new segment, guys, we're going to be talking about F1. For our first F1 episode, we're going to be recapping the most recent Singapore race. What did you think of the Singapore race, man?
In general, it was a very clean race, especially for a street track. It's a very narrow track, so it's very hard to overtake in Singapore. There's not much gradient change, but there is a lot of tight corners.
Overall, it was, to be honest, it was quite a boring race, hey?
Yeah, when I say clean, yeah, it's boring.
It was boring. I mean, it shows you how well McLaren are doing at the moment because that gap that Lando Norris had towards the end, that was crazy. Turning
It was 13 seconds by lap 18, and he was told to get a 5-second gap between Verstappen on lap 9 in the mid-teens. And
mid-teens. He ended up building enough of a gap to get a free pit stop.
like you're right, their car is well engineered. Like their team is incredible. Like to think that he wasn't pushing the vehicle hard, obviously retaining his tires at the time, and as soon as he was asked to push, that's it. He pushed it, and then you could see within half a lap he's gained like half a second. So one lap is like a second.
I've just got a list of things I want to talk about. First, we can talk about the start because the opening lap, that was pretty dramatic. Hey?
I think everyone was surprised that Lando didn't fumble the launch.
We'll talk about some surprises and we've learned about other teams and other drivers throughout the race. And I want to leave off. I'll talk about Daniel Ricciardo because his post-race interview was so emotional, man.
Let me just rewind my eyes.
Get the waterworks going, man.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the start of the race first because a few things. Lando Norris, what a great start, man. Great bloody start. But looking down the grid, man, a few things. Mercedes starting off Hamilton on the soft. That didn't pay off well. George Russell almost running into Oscar Piastri on the opening lap. And then, Fernando Alonso and whoever at the back was going wide as well onto the dust. The Hulk, he overtook Oscar Piastri, and lucky Oscar overtook him back within the next 2 turns because you saw what he did to Leclerc and to Alonso at the back. Hey, that was crazy.
I was also surprised there was no incidents, or major incidents, I should say, in the first lap. There was none. I was like, surely a safety car or something, because there's been a safety car in Singapore for how many years now? Every year
except this year.
Yeah, every year except this year. So so the driver of the safety car is probably bored.
Yeah, I was expecting something to happen with Lewis Hamilton. Hey, I was expecting him to overtake someone, and it's not like he even started in a bad place. He started in P3. What do you think about the gamble from Mercedes?
Well, he did was a radio back to the team a few times, as you noticed during the race, saying that he wasn't happy with the tires and the tire choices, and he did struggle a bit. He struggled with that car, so it may be a setup problem with him in terms of the vehicle itself, because we know he's capable of driving any vehicle. But speaking of setup, though, I think it was at the end of quali in his post-race interview, he said this is the first time in ages felt really connected to the car. Yeah, that's odd, right?
It's like overnight it just dropped.
So I don't know what they did. But by the way, before the race started, they did mention that the track temperatures were the highest it's been since the drivers have been on that track. So through practice and stuff, they did mention that it was a hot track. So maybe they could have done something else in terms of cooling the tires or the setup. It's crazy how just track temperatures can alter the vehicle's compliance. And the soft tires definitely not the good choice, not the right choice throughout the race. Hey, definitely a medium hard race. It's such a difficult race, and like Martin Brundle, he said it a few times, this is what they train for. They lose about 3 to 4 kilos of water mass because it's so sweaty. And because it's in the streets and in the city, the buildings are so tall and the humidity just circulates and it stays within there. And Alonso said it as well after the race. He said the gearbox, the engine, chassis, everything was on 100%. Like every part of the car was stressed through the entire race. There was no break for the car or the driver. Let's talk about Hulkenberg because he held up, was it Leclerc and Alonso? Yes. For so many bloody laps. They were so many laps. So I think I wrote some notes down. 2 races ago in Italy, he finished P17, and then Azerbaijan he finished 11th, and then Singapore 9th. So he's into the point. So either Haas is doing something or Hulkenberg just upskilled himself somehow. But I'm keen to see the power rankings for him as well, to see where he's at, because He's a good driver, but I think the car's really improved too. So he's really pushing the envelope. So I'm really impressed with him, and holding up Alonso like the most ultimate defender there is. Like that's insane. Like
the widest bus in the whole game is Fernando Alonso. And Hulkenberg was able to keep him behind, not just through the first stint, but through the second stint as well, man.
Yeah, exactly, 100%. He's done really well. And as you know, I'm a Alonso fan. I don't think Alonso could have passed him if it wasn't for the undercut, because it's such a tight track. It's either you wait for mistakes or your vehicle is just that much faster to overtake.
And speaking of buses, wide buses, Pinto, what the hell? It's his third race, fourth race, whatever. He held Sergio Perez. Even Sergio Perez admitted that this guy was good. What a gun, hey.
He's really good. I'm a fan. Yeah, like you said, Perez was admiring him from behind, saying, he's a good driver, whatever it was, and he couldn't pass. And it's like just goes to show that even like the veterans are acknowledging him. Was it the last race he scored points? This race he came 11th. But in saying that, coming 11th, he's beaten Stroll, Ocon, like the Kick Saber guys. Like it's like these guys have been in the game for a long time. Like they have years under their belt. And this kid just comes out of nowhere.
Yeah. What did they do to that Williams this year, man? They're doing so well.
Honestly, I personally think the Williams car is a much better vehicle than the Aston at the moment. The only reason why that Aston is up there is because of Alonso. Because you think about I love Alonso. No matter what, I will glaze that guy forever. So you think about Stroll's a good driver. There's a lot of hate towards Stroll. I get it because he bought his way through, but he's not a bad driver. So when you put an average F1 driver into a car seat, that's probably the average times you're gonna get, and anything more than that, it's just pure experience, and just going for it. So when you look at Stroll's finishes in each race, it is a low midfield car at the end of the day. So to see Williams advancing that much during this season is incredible, because Williams hasn't been Williams hasn't really been good since 80s and 90s and 2000s. That's the pinnacle of Williams, right? They've been around forever. Only now you can start to see their spark igniting again. They're really pushing the limit here.
I've read it here, the pit stop, Hamilton was, like you said, Hamilton was complaining about his tire strategy. He came in on lap 18 P3, and he came out P13, man, 10 whole positions later. And then Oscar gets asked by his engineer, hey man, if we pit you now, you want to go up behind Hamilton, you're going to have to overtake him. Is that a good idea? And Oscar's like, I think that's a good idea, man.
They have all the data in the world when it comes to the car itself, but at the end of the day, it's just data on the screen. It's still a driver's game at the end of the day. Yeah, you can put the best strategies in, but if the driver can't do it, or if the driver feels like they understand something a bit more, and it's also trust with him as well. So Oscar, he's a young driver. He's still new to the game in sense of experience wise. He's very switched on. He's a very switched on guy. He always complies. You listen to him, he will give you his advice as well when it comes to the vehicle himself. So if he isn't happy with something, he analyzes his own data very well. So I think them asking him is in a way, it's still a team sport. So I think it's a good idea. You should ask the driver how they feel as well, because they may have a better idea, because they can see how the grid moves from their perspective.
Not gonna lie, I started getting pretty scared with this strategy, because they ended up pitting him anyway, and he ended up coming up behind Hamilton. But I was thinking, my God, they're keeping this guy up for another 4 or 5 laps.
Yeah, he complained. I think 6 laps before he pitted, he started to complain heaps about the front end.
But props to him, man, going after Russell, and he just played the long game. He was so calm. He just kept going at it. Every lap he chipped away a few tenths, and then his overtake, he was driven wide by Russell, and he still made that look so bloody easy, man.
So he's such a good driver. As an Australian, any Australian driver out there, I'm all for. But he deserves it. He deserves that credit.
What a proud time to be an Aussie, hey. A young 23-year-old guy comes in, 1.5 seasons in. Man, this guy is killing the game.
If anyone was to say replace Daniel, it would have to fit in his shoes type of sense, is that guy.
Let's talk about Red Bull now for a second. Max Verstappen. What the heck? I was not expecting Verstappen to be that high up, because Singapore is very similar setup to Azerbaijan. The rumble strips are really high, the bumps are really high. Red Bull have had stiffness issues for ages, and all of a sudden These guys are bloody killing it.
I had my bets on his teammate doing well, right? Perez, because obviously he did really well. Well, besides the crash, he did really well on a street circuit, and I think he would be used to these type of curbs and the type of traction levels you get from a street. But he was a bit down the list, and it's like it kind of reversed. So Verstappen, like you said, out of nowhere, just.
I keep thinking about this, and I can't stop thinking about it. Like recently, Christian Horner, he comes out and he says we traced back our upgrades to where it started failing us, and it was in Spain 2023. Where Checo was playing about it. They brushed it aside because Max kept winning. If it truly was a shitbox, that tells you just how good Max Verstappen has been driving. Yeah. This guy's a bloody machine, hey.
He asked for everything of the car, and not anyone can do that. Not anyone can do that. It's less than microseconds of adjustments. When you're out there.
Well, speaking of adjustments, how funny was it when Alonso he was pressing all these buttons? He was like, just trying to stop the car.
All of them.
That lead by Lando Norris, man, that was so freaking comfortable. Hey, like Verstappen couldn't even do anything.
No, it's almost like Verstappen got a taste of his own medicine from back in the day. When he was like 20 seconds lead and stuff like that. Do you want to talk about Lando's lockup?
Lando, my heart dropped when Lando hit that wall, man. Or when that radio call came first for the engineers to check the wing.
The engineers told him it's fine. You don't have to worry about it. And he's like, okay, no worries. He kept going. And within that same lap, in the tire, locked up, turned, nothing happened. And then it gripped and it just went. You're like, oh, that could have just ended it all just there. And even Max mentioned it after the post-race in the cool-off room. He's like, you should have left off the brake. And it's like, in those moments, it's like, how do you even think of those things?
It shows, like, they were all reacting to it. For Max to crack a joke like that, to them, it's just, another day in the office. Like, what do you reckon about the mini DRS, though?
Okay. First of all, I don't like the FIA. I think their decisions are very biased towards some countries. I won't mention what countries. So the wings always flex, right? No matter what. Like you look at the carbon fiber front wings on the F1 cars, all of them flex. The rear wings flex as well. If you actually take a look at the Ferraris, they flex ever so slightly. But I think because people started to complain because McLaren's one flexed a little bit more than everyone else's, and like they said, like what the McLaren team said, it's within regulations, but everyone else is complaining, so fine, they'll fix it, but also they need to look at everyone else's one. But you can see in past races, the Ferrari is full DRS mode.
They're not catching up on the straight for some reason.
Yeah.
And it's you gotta. It does spark some concerns and about if it's cheating or not. Yeah. But motorsport's always about the gray areas, right? Always pushing things to limit, especially when it comes to like
the vehicle themselves and the engineering, whether it's in rally, whether it's in V8 supercars, whatever it is, there's always little gray areas, and that's the point of pushing the limit, trying to find little things to edge your opponents.
And I got pretty scared after the Azerbaijan GP because I thought Oscar drove a stellar race, and then as soon as we finished. Or as soon as the race finished, I see all these reels on Instagram of their flap going da 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 da, and I was like,
"Oh, this is pretty cool," but I'm pretty scared. I think it's pretty good innovation. They were able to keep it the middle of it so still, but the sides of it flexed ever so slightly. I think that was pretty cool.
Like Zach said, when you're the team dominating, everyone comes after you, and he understands that.
For sure, everyone critiques.
One of the guys chasing the other teams, in the early 20s as well.
Even when you talk about local sports like World Time Attack for us Australians, right? Everyone critiques because I read the regulations book back and forth, as I was a part of it. And there's little things like you need to keep the OEM door cards and stuff like this. And everyone will be like, well, the top teams have carbon fiber door cards. Is that OEM? Like little things like this, everyone always critiques. If it was a lower team, or a nobody, they wouldn't care so much. But like you said, once you're the top dog, everyone's trying to, clip your wings a little bit.
I think, unless you want to talk about Daniel's car.
Yes.
And Daniel's driving.
Come on, man. Daniel, man, he was so beautiful throughout the whole race. He had the worst time in the 2 hours that he was the worst time ever. And the stunt that they pulled right at the end, where they pulled him in for soft tires, and he took the fastest lap point away from
him. Yeah.
And did you see the F1 tweet, the official F1 tweet, where it says,
"Oh no, I have not the official one."
Oh, the official F1 put out a tweet, and they said, "Let me read it out to you."
I saw it this morning, and I was like, "Wow, what a pretty sure it's been orchestrated, by Red Bull. Someone, probably Christian Horner called Laura Mackies and asked Daniel to do this. From official F1, Daniel Ricciardo's fastest lap means Max Verstappen can finish second to Lando in all the remaining races and sprints,
regardless of fastest lap bonus point, and still win the Drivers' Championship. Just that one point that Daniel Ricciardo
that one
took
point.
away.
Yes, I did hear about that. So that's definitely
the Red Bull higher ups pulling those strings. But to ask Daniel to do that, I think it goes to show that Red Bull still have a soft spot for him and trust him as well to be able to get the fastest lap. Not only the fastest lap of the day, but of all time. That's literally the F1 world record, right? He's holding right now for that track.
Really?
Yeah, so if I just put myself into Daniel's shoes, got some new tires, this may be your last race for forever. I can just imagine his mindset. You're basically trying to do a time attack. Probably got no fear, in his mind at the moment. So he's absolutely just trying to dominate and get every millimeter out of that track and tires. He didn't have much slipstream, so it's all him in the car. So it's, the aero is just the air that he's hitting. There's no turbulent air, so it's like a nice goodbye type of thing. If it is a goodbye, it's like, it is a sad end, but at least he took the fastest lap in the lap record.
It was so wholesome seeing him being voted driver of the day as well.
Oh, that was so good. Yes.
That was so good, so wholesome.
So
if this truly is his last race, we're missing a great personality from F1.
100%.
Without him on F1, it's going to be different. Not only for the social norms in terms of the people in the pit, but I think also for the sponsorships as well.
Yes.
Because obviously a lot of sponsorships are on his shoulder, and a lot of money that goes to Red Bull come from Daniel Ricciardo as well. It'd be interesting to see if they release any financial burdens if they do release him.
Well, that's the end of our first Formula One recap episode.
It's another month until the next Grand Prix, so there'll be a break.
What do we do?
Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the episode, make sure you like the video, comment down the bottom, tell us what you think. What are we missing? What do you think about the Singapore Grand Prix? Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next episode.
Yeah.